in 1998 with the primary aim to live, learn, and pass on. Please help Elitefts support this mission by smashing the like button, leaving a comment, sharing with a friend, and thinking of Elitefts for your training needs. If you can put it in a gym bag or load weights on it, Elitefts has it. Now, onto the show.
What's going on? I'm Dave Tate. We are broadcasting from the middle of the Elitefts weight room, where the underground still thrives and you're part of the crew. It's time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. And Sam's back.
I can't say how, I don't know if I was like really happy that we're getting like the structure of how to title podcasts, or I was really, really pissed that the one I was not on, it's like, well, Sam's gone.
Yeah.
Podcast's over. It's done. So congrats, Jacob, on that one. Thank you very much. Welcome to episode, I think, 89, Jacob?
Yeah, definitely 89.
Definitely 89. A full table here today. Who the fuck are you people? And how'd you get in here?
Security's very weak.
I bought my way in.
Yeah. So Dave and I are here with Mr. Matt Goodwin himself, the head of all things sales here at Elitefts.
Yeah, buddy.
And the newest addition to the Elitefts team, Mr. Chris Bartl.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So how did we get this extra person here? What do we...
Well, Matt's been here for a while.
Yes.
Get the fuck out.
I swear to God. It's been over a decade.
Wait.
When I got here, I wasn't gray or nearly as fat.
You're not fat.
I know, thank you.
You're pleasantly plump.
No, Chris has been an Elitefts supporter and customer for well over a decade. I think right around when I started, Chris and I kind of hooked up, and we did 2 private sector gyms together. We've done high school together. So, we've had a great relationship with Chris. Chris has been to LTTs when we were doing those. I mean, he's been around for a long time. So, being able to, Chris is in the great state of Washington, and for us coming east all the way to get out west, it's just hard to service that area.
Oh, yeah.
So, Chris and I had talked after the last install that we kind of hooked up on, and we just kind of talked and thought it was a good fit. And I think now's a good time for us to kind of expand out that way. Nate Harvey had a horrible experience trying to travel out there and do an install and trying to get back. It took him like 3 days to get home. Yeah. So it was just time to get out west, and Chris will be better prepared and better location to be able to serve that area.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And for those who don't know, I know it's kind of an online world. People still pick up the phone and buy things.
Yeah, every now and then they do. They don't want to talk to somebody. Like, hey, can you come out here?
Right. I mean, and I think that's part of the Elitefts company, that if someone's watching this on YouTube, they may not even know that it even exists, right? They may think we're just a website. Right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's... I view it as like almost two separate companies in a sense. The offline and the online sales is how I refer to it. And, I mainly deal with the offline sales, which is what Chris will be doing and what Nate does. And like, honestly, like there's times I don't even know what's going on the website because I spend very little time on it because I'm constantly trying to quote and like talk to people face to face and that kind of stuff. So I don't even know what we're running on a website. And somebody's like, well, this is on sale. I'm like, oh, well, all right, well, let's reevaluate this thing. But it's 2 different businesses. It really is. And, it's Dave and the social media side kind of runs the online side of things. And then Nate and I have been controlling the offline, and that's why I brought Chris in to kind of expand on that.
Awesome. Chris, a little bit of background on you, where, you said you were from the Northwest. Are you originally from the Northwest?
Yeah, born and raised in the Northwest. Right after high school, I graduated in 96. 97, I made the trek down to the, at that point in time, it was the glorious state of California, where I spent the next 19 and a half years in Santa Babylon, known as Santa Barbara. And and then finally just had enough of the shit. It's like, you know what? It's 20 years of my life has been awesome, but I remember about 3 years of it, so it's time to go home. And I had a fantastic opportunity to work with a high school. It was actually my dad's alma mater. And so when I went home, I just started with that, and then I've been back up there going on 3 years now. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, we got to ask, training history. When are we going to get you in multiply gear?
Already been there, done that, man. I actually hit my biggest competition squat and my biggest competition deadlift in Metal Gear. So the orange stuff, I fucking love that old orange gear. And I hit my biggest squat in a Arnold qualifier.
Oh, no shit.
And then I think I did the Arnold qualifier when I hit my 700 deadlift too. Mm-hmm. And then I did. I think I competed in like 3 or 4 Arnolds, so I was out here for a couple of those times. I've been out here for LTT way back in the day, and that's how I've just never left. Like Matt said, I'm going on. I think outfitted 4 gyms. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like my gym that I got going on in my house now, and then we did a quote for another local high school. So it's just been great, man. You know, when you find a company where you just everything that you stand for, they stand for. Mm-hmm. And there's no bullshit. There's no compromise. This is the way it is. And you just resonate with it. And that's ever since I first discovered Elite FTS, I think like 14, 15 years ago when I first bought my first shirt. I was like, okay, I like what this company stands for. And I've always kind of been in the background. I never really left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think one of the coolest things about having you guys on today is I kind of wanted to jump into how important the relationships are in terms of, working with the schools you've worked with, the coaches you've worked with, the organizations. I mean, Matt, we've had conversations about how that's one of the best ways to obviously get more customers, which at the end of the day, that's what a business wants to do. But you really can tell when you're on the phone with somebody that you know the person, that like you would want to hang out with the person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, wait now. Hold on. We can't just skip over the total and shit. 3 years in the fucking Arnold, man. And 3 years in the XPC, which was post WPO, for those that don't know. So it was post WPO. It was kind of between WPOs, right? So WPO, then the XPC, then it was kind of a big deal. So it plays into where you want to go. I mean, it plays into outfitting with the equipment and all that, but it's a different thing when somebody actually knows what a bar feels like on their back. Mm-hmm. So
we got to think. So what are some of these totals?
I never was able to put together a good overall total together. I think the best I ever did was 2090 at 220 pound in the 220 weight class. But my best lifts, I did an 805 squat, 625 bench, and 700 deadlift.
Yep.
And I did. I did the squat and the deadlift at 242. I did the bench the last year that I didn't bomb out of the Arnold, and that was at 220.
Well, the one thing that you said, it's important to kind of stress is that your best lifts never equal your best total.
Right.
And that's true for, I think, everybody I know.
Yeah.
That's ever competed. It's just kind of how the cards fall, which is what keeps you. I don't want to say you. It's what keeps a lot of people in it because they're like, damn it, I don't really need to even get stronger. I just need to do my 3 best.
Just got to show up
again on the same day. And if I did that, my total will be 250 pounds more.
Yeah.
Or even if I don't do my best and I just do 95% of my best on all 3 on the same day, I can still get a bigger total. So that's how you end up being a washed up meathead, by the way.
Well, I'm still pissed that I bombed out of my last meet. Like most people go out and they actually get to finish the competition.
We're gonna need to hear that story.
No, I mean, it is what it is. I tried to cut too much weight. I was training, my training weight at the time, I was right around 252, 254, and I cut down to 220, but I bombed the weigh-in. Like I ended up weighing in at like 212. I just crushed myself. And so I only hit my second squat. I think it was like 775 or 780. And then I was warming up to get ready for the bench. And, a friend of mine who was training us at the time, Paul Key, he saw something in my bench and he's like, we need to change this. And so we made one little adjustment and I wasn't used to that adjustment in the shirt. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even come fucking close to hitting the bench. I mean, I opened really light. I opened at like 545, which is something that I could touch any given days. And I just couldn't groove it at all in the shirt. And I bombed out and I was pissed because I had one of the best training cycles I'd ever had leading up to that meet. And I was super stoked. I really wanted to break that 2100 barrier. I wanted to get just the full total together on one big meet. And it just didn't work out that way.
So how did you end up overcutting so much?
So when I remember flying out to Columbus, because we'd always fly out on a Tuesday and the meet was on a Saturday, because I always wanted to get used to the time change. And when I was stuck in Denver, I had my scale with me and I was weighing myself every 45 minutes to an hour. And I had like a 5-hour layover and I just kept switching and my weight was stuck. It wouldn't drop below 225. And I'm starting to freak out. And my good friend, Will Kenzel, would always help me with my cuts and monitor stuff like that. We couldn't figure anything out. So then when I got out here, nothing was working. Like I did sauna, it wouldn't pull anything. I was doing all this shit. So when my handler got out there, I took way too much Lasix. And I woke up and I was just lightheaded as fuck. I could hardly walk. And I made it in there and I was at 221. So then I had to go to the Columbus Athletic Club and I'm sitting in their wet sauna and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden I get back and I go to the weigh-in and then bam, it just all came off when I stepped on that scale. And I was like, oh, this is not good. This is way too much. And I couldn't blow it back up enough to get any of the gear to fit. Will was a 198 lifter and he brought his metal jack suit. And so I wore a suit that was a size too small. And somehow I ended up grooving that second squat. But yeah, I didn't pay attention to what I was taught on the cut.
So you were walking around at like 250.
Yeah, I would try to keep, that was a little bit heavier for me on a training cycle. I tried to keep it around the 240 mark, but I knew I had the ability to squat 850 plus. On a really good day, I probably could have hit 9 because I'd hit mid to upper 8s in training practice. I think I hit an 890 reverse band like 3 weeks out and I smoked it. So I knew I had the ability to put up a big squat number. So I wanted to train heavier because I knew I could cut the weight. I just didn't think I was going to blow it by an extra like 6 or 7 pounds. And that 6 or 7 pounds, I think was a really big difference because I don't think I got up much higher than 240 to 242 after bloating and the IVs and, 6 fucking boxes of Oreos later, right? Like I just couldn't put all that weight back on.
Yeah.
And none of my gear fit. And it was just but it was a great meet. Like I had a lot of fun.
And you said that was your last meet that you did.
That was the last meet
now,
that I did.
What made that the last meet? How come you just didn't want to be like, fuck it, just do it one more time?
I was really just kind of frustrated with myself.
Yeah.
After training my ass off and doing so well leading up to that. One of my friends at the time out in California was a strongman and he was competing. And every summer at the Mid-County State Fair, we would run the strongman competition, which was an Arnold qualifier. And he was just like, you need to just take a break from powerlifting for a while. Why don't you come try strongman? Like you can win this whole thing. Like here's the events that we're going to do. So start training for those. And one of them on there was a stone medley. And I had a 275 pound stone at my gym. So, I went off program, which was mistake number one. The coach that I had me, I was like, no, I want to fuck with stones today. He didn't have me doing stones. So I picked up this stone and Sam, you probably know a little bit more about this, but I was just trying to go alternating shoulder, like come up, like I'm going to go over my right, come back down, rebound, go over the left.
And how much experience have you had up to this point?
I had never lifted a stone before in my life.
That seems like a good story.
And I was beltless. I was raw. I didn't have my nose torqued. So I mean, name everything that could possibly go wrong did. So I got it to my lap, and I got it up and over my right shoulder just fine. And then I come back down, and I got way too loose, and I felt myself arch with my back instead of driving with my hips, and I instantly felt a pop. And everything went black, and I actually ended up falling face down onto the mat that I had sitting outside. My training partner comes running over, and I just remember being in excruciating pain. Like I couldn't move. I mean, Mundo was my training partner. He's this huge Mexican dude, 345 pounds, strong as an ox, and he just like bear hugged me up out of the ground. He's like, you got to get up, keep going. And I'm like, dude, I can't. And I couldn't stand up straight. I was like folded over at 90 degrees. So I drove myself to the hospital. It was like a mile and a half down the road. And I'm like, I really jacked up my back, blah, blah, blah. Give me painkillers. And they're like, well, you asked for painkillers. Here's some ibuprofen. And like nothing worked. And so I was married at the time. I got home. Like I couldn't stand up. I couldn't tie my shoes. My stepdaughters had to help me get dressed. They had to bring me my food. It was terrible. And it was something that was so debilitating that I just never got the itch to want to put on gear again to try to squat super heavy or deadlift super heavy.
So was it just a herniation or what did you have?
Well, I never ended up getting an MRI or anything like that. And they're like, yeah, you hurt your back, but we're not going to give you an MRI. We're not even going to give you an x-ray because it's not structural, it's muscle. So like, but we're not going to give you an MRI.
How the fuck they know it?
They just
That's
feel
exactly.
it.
That's what the nurse said.
Feel it? Okay. They rub it like
It's hot.
wax on, wax off.
They're like, yeah, it looks like it hurts.
I'm like, I'm sitting on the bench and she's like, sit up straight. I'm like, I can't. She's like, yeah, you did something, but we're not gonna x-ray. Like, that's pointless. We're not gonna MRI. That's pointless. You know what you did. We know what you did. So here's some ibuprofen and go.
So they didn't even do like the Mr. Miyagi, like clap, rub.
No.
Eat, you know?
No. I mean, that was pre-COVID and they still wouldn't come within 6 feet of me. So who knows? It was a.
It's a good thing they gave you 800 milligrams of Advil, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So, I mean, and it was a long ass process, right? Just to try to get back to be able to stand up straight again. And then ever since then, it's just been an ongoing battle with that same injury. Like, you can do the McGill 3 until the cows come home, like literally can, but you make one little flaw in your technique trying to pick something up, and it doesn't matter how strong your core is, if that little microfracture is still there, it's still going to cause some pain. And so it never fails. Like every 8 or 9 months, I do something to my back, and I'm like planted for like 3-4 days. Mm-hmm. So, which sucks because, you know, at one point I was getting really strong again, and it felt good. I competed sumo, but I was training at this point in time conventional. And I ended up repping 600 conventional. And I was like, yes, like now it's time. It's time to get back. And then I like bent over to tie my shoe and I couldn't fucking stand up again. Mm-hmm. And then I was crushed for another 6 or 7 days. And so every now and then, like I get that, like I'll see a video or I'll hear a podcast. I'm like, fuck, I can do it again. Mm-hmm. I can. Then it's like, but do I really want to do all that all over again? And for me, it's just not the time of my life to want to try to do that. I'm just so focused on my kids and my athletes right now that I like training heavy, but I don't want to put in the effort to try to qualify for an Arnold or get into the top 20 again. It just doesn't appease to me.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the most frustrating part is the fact that you were in a medical facility and they were like, yep, your back sure looks like it hurts.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't say that to the front of your body. It's like, well, your front hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
It's like, what the fuck? It's like, why is that? It's like, why is that the go-to? Like, yep, low back. You done fucked it up. It's like, yeah, doc, I know. I certainly feel that.
Yeah.
Now, I just have to ask. You said it like every 8 or 9 months you kind of tweak it. Uh-huh. Like, did you get any like symptoms on your leg or any of that shit, or is it just kind of
no?
Like,
it's just
debilitating, seizes up, and then you just can't do shit.
Yeah, like the last time I did it, I was at the gym that I was training at in my hometown, and the program called for a set of 3. Mm-hmm. It was like 5 sets of 3, and the last one he wanted to beat the number that I had the week before. So I had like 545 on the bar, and I was going hybrid. So I wasn't quite sumo, but I was a little wider than conventional.
Right.
And I just had everything braced. And on the first rep, I'm like, don't do another fucking rep. Don't do another rep. So what did? I did another rep, and then just went bam. And like, I ended up dropping the bar. I ended up falling over the bar, and someone comes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Can you unrack my bar for me? I got to go home."
I just shit myself.
And he's like, "Yeah, man, no worries." And yeah, that was like, I think like 6 months ago.
That's the worst. Like it's just those little tweaks that just keep coming back and back.
Yeah, and it's the same. It's the same thing.
Is it the same motion every time?
It's the same motion every time. It's like right when I'm trying to break the floor, I'm just, my initial pull is with my back. It's not driving with my legs. Mm-hmm. And I'm like braced to hell. My lats are engaged. I always prided myself on being really dialed in with the technique and making sure I had the lifter's wedge, I was braced, all that shit. And every now and then I just do something stupid and I'm like, I'm going to use my back first instead of using my legs. And every time I do that, it just goes.
Yeah, it's very common too, right? Like it's especially when you start to feel good, you want to push it.
Yeah, and like I'd always been aware, like I got to go slow. Like don't make small jumps. Okay, week to week, you just got to get better.
Like actually slow or meathead slow? Because it's like 2 different speeds.
So I have a battle in my head between the meathead and the normal guy. And the meathead always usually wins those battles.
As they should.
Yeah. And then
they're stronger than the normie.
Yeah. And then, but that guy's an asshole. He's just like, no, you don't need to use your legs. Just lift with your back.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be fine. You're okay.
Just use L4, L5.
Yeah, exactly.
I got 2 words for you. Pin pull.
Fuck that.
No, I can't.
There's 2 words right back at you.
No way.
Yeah.
Man. Pin pull. You're over 40 now.
So here's the thing with outdoor.
Quit pulling shit off the floor.
Here's the thing with pin pulls. That's the position that's worse for me.
Yeah.
Like if I try to do pin pulls or block pulls at a certain weight or at a certain height, I can't even, like, once I get the bar and I start to take the slack out, I can instantly feel my back.
So there's mid shin.
There's 2 inches off the floor.
It's the weight in front
Yeah.
of you. I swear to God, if you went to a trap bar for a while.
So for the last 4 or 5 months, I've been doing nothing but trap bar, and it feels fantastic. Like now I'm back up into the mid to upper 4s, pushing 5 again with the trap bar, and I got no pain. So yeah, I'm again, like it's one of those things. Like I'm not competing again. I don't ever have to fucking straight bar
no,
deadlift
for sure.
again. Like what's the point?
I don't ever.
I don't straight bar squat anymore, and I don't straight bar deadlift anymore. So
We just had a video of Dave teaching the Dimmel deadlift, and I think it got so many views because it was Dave deadlifting and not actually the video itself.
yeah, right.
It has like 70,000 views. People are like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. But again, like I feel like it's having that low back injury and having gone through that, and even like bombing out of meets and all that, like all the hard shit, all the not fun shit that you've gone through.
Yeah.
Has, I mean, you coach athletes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Has made you a better coach.
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely. Because, it's one of the things I always talk to my kids about. It's like the minute you walk into my facility or you're around me, you can't ego lift anymore. It has to all be about the technique. And I told them the story about blowing my back out. And right when I first started at Baker, I had a little back injury because I was doing something stupid on a deadlift, and they saw me walking around bent over, not being able to stand up straight. And they're like, "Oh, you weren't kidding." And I was like, "No, I'm not kidding. Like you do something wrong in here, you will get seriously hurt, or you could hurt yourself if you're not being careful. You could kill somebody else. You could hurt somebody else. Like this is a dangerous place, a weight room, especially for teenagers who have no fucking clue what they're doing, and this is the first time they've ever stepped foot in a weight room before." And it has made me a better coach because it makes me reevaluate movement. Because if I can't do anything and I can't demo it, I mean, I'm not the best descriptor in the world. I can't always use my words. Kids sometimes learn better by watching. So I'd have to just jump in there. And I did stupid stuff a couple of times that first year at Baker. I'd get pissed at somebody missing a 400-pound deadlift, and I'd just walk up and pull it without even thinking about it. But then all of a sudden I'd be crippled for the next couple of days because I use my back and not my damn legs. So.
Yeah, I mean, Goodwin, you've had injuries too before, right? Like that have put you in.
My body's been hurt since I was 17. I mean, when you're 135 pounds playing high school football at the D1 level in Ohio, you're going to get your ass kicked. Yeah. And I mean, shoulders, ankles, like everything is wrecked. The shoulders for me are the 2 worst things. Like I have pain, but Dave told me a long time ago when I first started working here, he was like, "Does that hurt?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Don't fucking do it." You know what I mean? Like, and it kind of resonated with me. Like, well, that makes sense. And then another thing, I remember Ted Tolston one time was like, "Why are you cutting weight?" I'm like, "I don't know. I want to lift at 198." He's like, "Are you going to set a world record?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Don't lose weight."
Yeah.
And so you learn these things from these guys that have been around forever. And it's like, like I know I can't incline bench press. There's no way I can do that with a straight bar. I can't do it. Like as soon as I get close to my chest, I feel like both my shoulders are going to rupture. I don't do it. So, I did the powerlifting thing for a while, and I tried to compete in that. And
You had a good bench.
it was a good bench. That's all I could do. I mean, my biggest fear in my first meet was not being able to out deadlift my bench. And I was very close to not doing that.
That's nothing to be scared about.
I was like, man, this is going to be embarrassing when I bench
Proud
press.
about that.
Right.
Pride in that shit.
And the whole idea of the meet was to go and do a full power meet, but I have zero hip mobility, and I couldn't get the parallel out of squat. And I was like, I'm going to bomb out of this thing. So I'm like, I'm just going to go push-pull. So, I mean, injuries are like any kind of an athlete. You play any kind of a sport, I don't care what it is, soccer, wrestling, lacrosse, baseball, you're going to have injuries. I mean, my son had horrible baseball injuries his senior year. I mean, it was just one thing after another. We're just going to keep him healthy. It's going to happen. In the weight room, like Chris said, at the most, especially in the high school level, it could be the most dangerous place in the world. I mean, I've seen kids do some of the craziest, dumbest shit in the world.
awful.
It's unbelievable. It's scary. And, then we get into talking about equipment more, but I mean, that's why I always try to tell coaches in the high school level, like, you need full racks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Do not buy a half rack. Like you have a kid miss or fall backwards or something.
Yeah.
Like, let's keep him in the cage.
You're in trouble.
So that bar is like, because 9 times out of 10, it's the spotters that get smashed, right? Mm-hmm. And so, man, injuries, like if you're going to do anything physical, you're going to get injured. So, don't lift weights if you don't want to get hurt. I mean, like, I'm just waiting for the next thing to pop.
Everybody take notice. I'm not the one that said that. I'm just
be the
over
sales
here.
team.
I'm just fucking enjoying this conversation like you can't believe.
I mean, something's going to pop. I mean, shit, I tore my calf diving in my pool. Dove in my pool.
Because you were excessively dehydrated because you were hammered.
Probably. And I'm looking at my wife. I'm like, can you throw me something? I'm drowning. And she's just laughing. I'm like, I'm really hurt.
You need
She
to
didn't care.
you need to tell a story about how you pinned yourself on the bench and your wife was on the treadmill.
Shit. So every
This is some home gym shit right here, right?
I almost
Gym
peed
guys, listen
myself.
up.
I almost
So
peed.
I every now and then, like Chris, I get a bug in my ass. I do something very stupid, right? So I do have a bench shirt that I keep at the home gym. And every now and then I throw this fucking thing on and I act like I can still bench over 500 pounds. I can't. So really, like,
Well, maybe you
could.
can.
I
if you
could.
hit
I
the
bet you
right-
can.
If you hit the right groove and then you jacked your shirt up, just you
That's the
could do
problem.
it.
I can't jack the shirt up by myself. So I text my wife and I say, hey, if you don't hear from me in 5 minutes, call 911. And no, I'm sorry. I started off, I said, hey, can you come out here and spot me? Problem number one, don't ask your wife to spot you. First of all, I don't know what she could have done anyways, right?
No.
So she's like, I'm on the treadmill. Oh, well, sorry. So I say, if you don't hear back from me in 5 minutes, call 911. I'm seriously hurt. So I know better, but load up with the bar. I don't even remember how much is on it. Mid to low fours. I'm going to hit this for 3 reps. First rep was super fucking heavy. I was like, God damn, that was fucking rough. I'm like, I'll do one more. Go down. Second one, like, I'm shaking. Like, everything's like, it's just all bad. And I'm like, I could do 3, right? Come down, bam, just stuck on me. Now, I had a shoulder saver pad from Elitefts.com, buy it. That probably saved my clavicle. So I have the safety spotter straps on my rack, and I offset them so they're a little bit higher towards my feet. So if I do miss, I can roll it down. I didn't have it quite high enough. I'm completely pinned underneath this bar. Like, I can't get out. The worst thing is I've got my cell phone videotaping this because I'm like, I'm going to post this shit. So I got my phones recording this. I'm stuck under the bar. I can't wiggle out of it. Finally, I get it to like my legs. I'm able to kind of like squeeze myself out of there. I'm bruised. Like, my whole sternum's bruised. My pelvic is bruised. A complete fucking mess. Text my wife and said, thanks a fucking lot. And she comes out. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I dropped this on me. I'm like, God damn it, I asked you to come out here. And she's like, you're an asshole. Walked upstairs and that was it.
Back on the treadmill.
Yeah. So, home gym guys, set your spotters right. Don't ask your wife for a spot. And, again, back to that ego lifting, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking like, oh, this is easy. I can smoke this. And it's just a disaster.
Yeah.
This story shouldn't remind me of this, but it did. Was there a video where James Henderson missed 545? Right, I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about, right? I'm pretty sure he missed 545 on his chest, and then he just like laps it up on his lap.
Oh,
It's
James
like
Harrison.
Harrison.
Yeah,
Just
Steelers.
throws it on his lap.
Yep.
Right, like,
he gets
like no
pissed.
big fucking deal.
Yeah.
And then from there, he's like, flip, and just wings the fucking bar
He, like,
off
hip
his
thrusts,
lap.
like,
I swear to
505.
God,
Yeah.
it was like I couldn't do that with 95 pounds. And this fucker just did it with.
Yeah.
Forget the benching part. Like, if he would have benched it, I'd be like, strong fucker.
Yeah.
This was like, this might be the strongest fucking person
Yeah,
I have ever seen in my life.
That man is probably the strongest professional athlete I've ever seen. I mean, he's just that guy's a freak. But yeah, he literally
This
hip
literally
thrusted
took
that
less than 3 seons. It
Yeah.
wasn't like it was like, oh shit, what do I do? It was just like, nope, another day.
Like, I've been here before.
and popped it.
Dang.
You know, it's like,
That's insane.
holy fuck.
That is an angry man.
That was
I mean,
an
he's
impressive lift,
Very
whatever
impressive.
the fuck it was. An
Yes.
eccentric bench with a hip thrust. Supersetted with a hip
It's
thrust.
highly functional.
now I know why everybody's doing hip thrusters.
Yeah,
Can't
so
bar off you.
eccentric bench press, supersetted with a glute.
Glute
No,
bridge.
it wouldn't be that because it's on a bench. So it's got to be with a seated power clean.
It is a plyo at some point.
Is that conjugate?
And that's all concentric, right?
Yeah,
so the
it's all
eccentric
eccentric.
So you can
bench
easily
with
recover.
a concentric power clean.
Easily
That's
recover
some
from.
shit right there.
Oh,
He just
man.
made something up.
Right? Some kid's going to try that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tag us.
Gary.
Hashtag
James Harrison.
Elite FTS.
Right?
But
yeah,
you-
Debo is a man. He's a man.
Yeah, like everything, you watch any video he posts, it's like, I don't know if he's just really strong or those are really fake. And then all of a sudden the bar bends.
The bar's bending
you're
like
holy
crazy.
shit.
Yo, that guy's a monster, man. He's strong.
Unbelievable.
He's strong.
If he's listening to this, it would be great if you stopped out here.
Yeah, right. He's an Ohio boy. Come on down, man.
Oh, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So I think to go back to what we parlayed into a little bit, talking about, I think the equipment side of Elite FTS is something that not a lot of people know about, right? I actually got thrust into this world when I helped you at, what school was that?
That was West Ottawa, up in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
And we put together 14 fucking racks.
I'm like, Sam, it takes like 5 hours, dude. It's no big deal. You know?
No.
But that's the beauty of high school weight rooms, right? Because they don't tell you shit. Right?
No.
You show up and I'm like, oh, it's up 2 flights of fucking stairs. Thanks. You know what I mean?
Super
It's like,
cool.
I get to carry 10 million pieces upstairs, you know? I'm like, this is awesome.
This is so good.
I think we left at like, what time was it, like midnight or something?
Yeah. Well, we started putting racks together at, I think, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3. I was like, we're fucked.
We're so fucked. And it's exhausting. Like I didn't realize how hard.
It's so hard. So the installs are so hard. So, you know, that's the thing, I guess, you know, again, because we're not this big conglomerate, huge mega company, right?
You
so
know.
like, we're doing everything, man. Like I'm selling this, I'm servicing it, I'm putting it together. Like I'm doing, like it's me. Like,
Yeah.
when you buy, like I'm showing up, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's 10 years ago, I could bust this shit out like it was nothing. You know, now like, holy crap, man! Like everything hurts. Like by the end of the night, I got my shoes off. I can't. My feet are killing me. Like, you know, my fingers are stuck like this. You know, I got trigger finger from the damn gun. Like everything's like a mess.
I've never laughed so hard in my life when you're trying to power clean the racks up and he just grunts like a gorilla.
I gotta get it up. Like, it's just, this shit's just so heavy. You know what I mean? And it's like, but you know, that's the thing is like, Elite FTS. Like we try to make it like we want you to know us, right? Like,
Right.
when you call here, man, you're getting Rhonda on the phone.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna call, you're gonna talk to me, you're gonna talk to Nate, you're gonna, you know, everybody's here. Like it's not like, you know, you're getting somebody different every time you call.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you brought Rhonda flowers 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's
Suck up.
right.
No, Ron, that's when I did absolutely suck up because I have never seen
always
anybody
works.
pecker slap UPS as hard as Rhonda did. So
That'd be a new shirt.
This is a
Pecker
fantastic
slap.
story. So I had my first gym. It was Bayside Barbell. I hit Matt up, dropped like $60K on equipment, and it comes out UPS freight. They drop it, and I'm like, everything is destroyed. Like the plastic wrapping, the pallet that it was on was even broke.
Shattered.
And I'm like, what the hell? And I unpackage everything, and there were like bench pads that were ripped.
Ooh.
The frames were scratched and bent. And so I took pictures, I sent it to Matt, and rule number one that I found out, and this was a decade ago with Elitefts, don't piss off Rhonda.
No.
And she went after UPS. She ended up getting me a settlement. I think it was like $6,000, which I was just like, here, you keep it, give me more equipment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I came out, it was for, I think it was for my first LTT. And I was just like, I gotta do something nice for this woman because she went so far above and beyond to make sure that I was taken care of. And that was just another reason for me to like never want to deal with anybody else again. Like to have somebody to go to that extreme to please and make sure that the customer got taken care of. That was why I showed up with a big ass bouquet of flowers. I think you saw me walking by in your office and you're, what the fuck is this guy doing with flowers? Doesn't he know she's married? And I'm like, hey, you know.
Yeah, it's so that, I mean, that's the thing, like, you know, and I think most of our customers come to us from Dave, right? These guys are all fans of what Dave does and what this company has represented, you know, since 1998. And I think they expect that, right? Like you can DM Dave, he's going to answer you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's not a lot of places like that where you can get direct contact
With the owner.
to the guy that started the whole thing, right?
Yeah, right.
And it's you know, and it's hard because there's like 4 of us in this office that deal with customers, so it's like it's hard, you know, and the girls just get pounded, and they do a better job than I could ever imagine, because there's no way I could sift through what they do on a daily basis. Like I mean, you've heard it for 3 days.
Yeah.
The constant calls, the emails, it's like nonstop. I'm like, I don't know how the hell they do it. And I don't know how Rhonda does it, and I don't want to know because I don't want to do it. And I always tell her, I'm like, look, I don't want to know what you do because then we don't need you, right?
Yeah.
And we'll get rid of you. And I don't want to do your job. But no, I mean, and that could have been a horrible experience for Chris as a customer.
Right.
But Rhonda was able to fix it, and Chris has come back to us 3 more times, you know what I'm saying? But you know, when you have a customer problem, going to a Facebook group or an Instagram, like that's not.
No, you're not getting handled.
Like, call us. We have a very easy phone number, 888-854-8806. Call us, talk to us, right? Like, you'll get a faster response. But, you know, I mean, and Sam, like, people even now know, I mean, you're part of the family, right? So everybody recognizes you as like, holy shit, there's Sam Brown from Elite FTS. Like, we're not, and I think this is a testament to Dave. It's like, you're not bigger than anybody else, you know, especially the customer base. Like, the customers are bigger than us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? And like our best marketing is our customers.
Like we were saying, that relationship, right?
Yeah. So it's like, you know, I've had schools that I've dealt with for 10 years and they call back and they're like, oh my God, you're still there. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm still here.
Like I have a certain set of skills.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, and I think too, the school factor, you know, what we can do that I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of companies do the same thing, but like if you have questions about training or diet or something, we have somebody
for sure
that can answer those questions, you know what I'm saying? And like, and most of the guys that have been affiliated with our company for so long, they're not too big in their britches either to answer that question. Or, you know, a lot of guys would be like, well, yeah, give me $1,000 and I'll come out and I'll consult you. We're just not gonna do that.
No.
You know?
Especially as like if someone purchases equipment and we come out and help them install it, it's like if they have questions, it's like I'll just call somebody right now.
I mean,
like,
yeah,
hold my phone while I just put this rack together.
I mean, you're talking to the school board president down at Waverly yesterday.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's
Right.
talking about his problems, and you know, it's just that kind of access that we try to do. And I mean, like, you know, we have those coaches that keep coming back to us, like the AJ Motts of the world, and you know, it's you kind of feel like, you know, you do. I've got friends, right? Now I feel like I have friends all over the place, and that's all, you know, due to this guy, the groundwork that he's laid over the last 20 years.
Absolutely. Years. And I think that one of the things that people don't realize is when they purchase the equipment and you come out and they do the install, right? Like that is a process in itself that is almost like an added benefit, because I don't think there have been some times where it's been a hard time to put the gym together, but even at the hardest time, man, like I don't think I've laughed as hard when we were just trying to bust ass at 11:30 at night, just screwing in like the last weight storage on these 14 racks.
No, you better go into this with a good attitude, or you're gonna jump out a window. Yeah. I mean, I take this kid Tavian with me all the time, and he's like 22 years old, right? And he'll look at me like, because when I start, I don't stop.
No,
like I'm
that's
going.
True.
I'm just going.
That's
you know,
true.
you've seen that. I'm like,
yep.
Nope. We're not eating lunch. We're just till this last bolt's in. I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
And Tavian will look at me. He's like, I don't know how the fuck you're still standing. Like he's like, this kid can barely move.
Yeah.
And I'm just running around. And he's like, but that motivates him to move too. Like he's like, all right, I'm not gonna let this old man beat me.
Yeah, no.
You know.
No.
Yeah, the installs are brutal. And you know, the customers, I always get it too. And they're like, just send it. I'll put it together.
No, you won't.
And then they come like, hey, how fast can you get out here? I'm like, shit. You know, it's big, heavy stuff, man. But I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. I love it. Now the travel, when I first started, was a lot more exciting than it is now. You know what I mean? Now I just want to be at home. Like I don't want to go anywhere. But like it's like when I do the installs, it's we never have a bad time. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
even if it's
shit could go completely wrong,
sucks.
It's still fun. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like it was like midnight at that school, and you're like, that's only 7 hours home. If we get in, you'll be home by 7 a.m.
Should we get a hotel or should we just keep going? Gas and go, baby. I look over, this guy's like snoring away. He's doing the head bob, right? Like literally for 7 hours. And I'm like, this kid's no help.
He was just like, all right, just don't fall asleep. I was like, all right, cool, I got you. I'm like, it's 2 a.m. What do you want me to do?
Right.
I'm just like hammering sour Skittles to try to get myself going.
It's mind numbing, but
2 a.m.'s lunchtime though, right? Because that's when you're done putting the shit together.
Now we can eat.
So the 12-hour fast is over. So now it's lunch.
Yeah.
And then you need to get on the road before that lunch starts to catch up with you. You want to sleep. leak.
Get that stomach cramp. Oh. But my first install was great, man. Big Ed out there at Brockport University orders I think it was 6 collegiate racks. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right? So I'm playing like I know what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
So I show up like, I can throw this stuff together, no big deal. I bring my dad with me, guys. At the time, I was 66 years old, could barely move, and I show up with 2 ratchet sets. 6 collegiate racks, dude. Literally, I think each rack took me 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Had bloody knuckles. I called Mike Ramsey from Williams on the way back. I'm like, dude, what do I need to buy? He's like, y'all did that with ratchet sets? I'm like, yeah. He's like, damn, you're crazy, man. You got to get some impact guns. I was like, shit. But it was great. I mean, and again, when I started in this business, I didn't know shit. I was a beer salesman. I mean, I sold beer, man. I lifted. I was like the weekend warrior lifter guy. I just show up, lift, biceps, bench press, go home. And it was such a learning curve, and I worked with Wendler for a half a day. And he looked at me and he goes, well, good luck. And he just walked out.
He's done, man.
And he left, and I was just like,
done.
So that's it?
That's it. He's out.
I remember for 3 months coming home just in a panic, looking at my wife, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? But it's live, learn, pass on, or just figure it the fuck out.
Figure it the fuck out. Yeah, that's weird. That's the other one.
Yeah. So it was initiation by fire, but man, we've had some good times. I've had some great times, and like I said, these friendships that I've developed,
for sure,
have just lasted. You know what I mean? Now it's a decade, and plus, and it's like I could go anywhere, literally in the country, and call somebody, and I know somebody in that
absolutely,
area, and that's so cool because you live your life in such a fishbowl, right? Like I was born in New Jersey. We moved here when I was 10. In Ohio, and I kind of stayed in the central Ohio, Dayton area pretty much my whole life. And you think that's your whole world.
Yeah.
And then you realize, holy shit,
it's a big place.
We're selling gyms to Czechoslovakia,
Spell
Russia.
that.
I can't. I can't point it out on a map. Japan, it's crazy, right? And it's wow, how much reach does this company have? And it all goes back to the free content that has been given away for 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. And there's no value you can put to that, right?
Right.
Chris, I've been reading the site, you know what I mean? Some of these guys that I talked to, I was well, I started reading the site when I was 18. These dudes are almost 50 years old now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's crazy how this time goes by like that.
And it's cool because that network grows naturally because one person gets another job at another school and it just keeps going. It keeps going and going and going. It's like the spider web effect.
And
kind of increases over time.
It's you meet good people and you meet bad people, you know what I mean? And even people that don't necessarily say they don't buy the big room from me, but everywhere they go, they're coming back and they're getting all the accessory stuff from me. And and it drives me nuts. I'm like, man, why don't you just buy the big shit from me? You know what I mean?
Spend all your money.
Yeah, and it's just we can do that too. And it, but we're getting there. You know what I mean? And I think it's just been a growth process. And I think our exposure as far as the equipment side of things is growing. And I think people are starting to realize, wow, man, when you buy from Nate Harvey's going to show up at my gym.
With his tool belt on.
Yeah, with his Johnny tool belt and signing people's SS yoke bar pads. And I mean, can you break down Conjugate U for me? And, and Chris is going to experience that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to be holy shit, I talked to Chris Bartl and he's going to come out. And the name just sticks with the company, right? So I remember when I first started, people would call and I'd be like, thank you for calling Elitefts. This is Matt. Croc? No. Or Wenning? And I'm like, no.
Nope.
Matt who? Goodwin. Oh, who's that? Yeah. You know what I mean? And, it was, and it was brutal because I was never exposed to social media, right? So I remember they posted some stuff oh, this is our new sales guy. And people are just ripping me. Who's this asshole?
What's that feel like?
What a pussy. This guy doesn't even lift.
I can't believe you hired Bill Burr.
Yeah, it's what is this guy? You know what I mean? It's
thank you.
Yeah, and I'm like,
that's good.
I'm showing my wife these comments. She's like, God, this is horrible. I'm like, yeah, it's terrible.
Just getting
Yeah, she's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, they live right down the street. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, they live right down the street. And she's like, I don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? I mortgaged my whole family's future on jumping to this company. It was if this fails, we're screwed. You know what I mean? We're living in a box. So, it's been awesome. I absolutely love what I do. It'd be nice to go on a vacation and not have to work, pretty much the whole time. But I never dread going to work. So to me, it's just like, this works, you know what I mean? And I love it. And again, that goes back to the people and the relationships. And like I said, some people I've been dealing with for 10, 12 years, and it's awesome. And I consider them friends, even guys from our team, like, Joey Smith and Joe Jordan, and these guys have been around forever. And it's like, you're kind of like, their whole family, you know what I mean? And like, there's a lot of these coaches I deal with, like Crabtree and those guys, like I know everybody in their circle, and it's kind of cool.
And we can definitely tell when you're not in the office, because I walk in and I don't hear "sup boner."
I've heard it's very quiet in the office when I'm not here.
It is because you're singing half the time.
I'm singing, I'm moving. I can't stand the dead silence. You know what I'm saying? So like every now and then you gotta scream like, what's that? Tension breaker had to be done. Because like Dave will just go in his office and headphones on, and he don't talk. He ain't saying nothing.
It is funny every time when we even went to install, they're like, "Oh, what's Dave like?" It's like, "Well, it's quiet."
Well, Chris was like, "Well, I've been sitting here for 2 days. I don't think he said a word to me." I go, "But he did wave."
He's aware of your presence.
Yeah,
I save it all for the podcast, for the weight room.
Right. You get in these walls, and Dave does change, and that's what I've learned over the years. Like, Dave in the office is different than Dave out here.
Oh, for sure.
And it's two different things, and it's
I tell people I'm an introvert, and they don't fucking believe me.
No,
until you talk to people that know me,
yes.
and like, oh yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's
you would be perfectly fine not having human contact for like 20 years. You'd be fine.
It was like my first or second week here. I was like, Matt, Dave hasn't spoke to me yet.
Then he likes you.
Yeah, he's like, oh, that's good. That's really good.
He likes you.
I'm like, I don't think he knows my name.
Wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, if I go 2 weeks without Dave talking to me, then everything's all right.
We're on the straight and narrow.
Yeah. If he comes in, I'm like, oh shit, something's wrong.
I should probably work on that. New Year's, I got to wait till next year, the resolution.
Yeah, don't worry.
New year, new me.
You got
too late now.
Too late.
Yeah, you got 360 days to worry about that. Don't worry about that.
So one of the things that I think it would be kind of a cool thing to touch on,
Yeah.
and Chris, you can jump in on this too, and Dave as well, because I want to hear the history of this a little bit. The whole seminar thing. I mean, we're starting to kind of talk to some schools about potentially going out there and kind of bringing those back. And Dave, that's been something that's been a staple for Dave for years and years. That was one of the ways you probably built the company, right?
Yeah, that'd be a Dave question.
I can't imagine how many seminars that you've done.
What, total?
Yeah.
He does one every weekend.
Right.
I mean, essentially, right?
Right.
With the weekend crew in here.
When they were smaller, there were over 100 before I dialed back and had Jim start doing it.
Holy shit.
Because they were smaller, so 10, 20 people. And the trick was I just wanted to break even.
Yeah.
That was kind of the trick. Most of the time you didn't, but it's like, okay, I only lost 200. I can make it up on the next one.
Right.
And so then it would, and they were small because it'd be like contracting somebody that had a gym and say they want to have a seminar. And it's like, okay, how do we want to do this? Do I want to collect the money? Do you want to collect the money? Like, what's going to happen? And what's the minimum number of people? Because I never wanted to cancel one. That was a big thing. And I think I only had to do it once. And there was only one person that had to be refunded. Because to me, to have to refund like 5, 10 people, not only am I going to feel like a failure because I didn't make enough, to be able to break even on it, they're going to know that I'm a fucking failure because I'm giving it back because I couldn't sell it out. And so that's why most of them didn't make money, because it's like 5, 10 people. I remember once in, I think it was Sacramento, and this is one that Mark Bell was not associated with. I think it was Jason Brunell or somebody else, but there was like 23 people. I'm like, holy fuck. I made like $350. It was like, holy fuck,
so worth it.
And that was after flights and everything else. Yeah. I'm like, I legitimately just made $350 in one weekend. And I'm like, well, not really. Like, I squatted at West Side. I flew out right after that, was still having the blue liniment on me, horse liniment, getting on the plane, right? So I'm like, I got to count Friday because I really didn't work Friday. And I flew, so it was like 4 days, and I started breaking it down. Like, I didn't really make that much. I would have made more if I just went back to work.
Right.
And anyhow, that's kind of how it started. With that, I don't know how much that helped to really grow the company, but I will say that while I was tracking those in the earlier days, and even when we started with I think it was a West Side seminar first, because I was doing them for Louis. Then it was Tour de Force, which is just basically changing the name. And then, was it Learn to Train? There was something before the Learn to Train, but I was tracking, so surveys and all the other stuff. And the average seminar attendant was spending 4 times more in a year than what a normal customer was. So I'm like, okay, there's something here. I don't know what that is. And then because you're building a relationship with that person, there's obviously going to be more referrals than what you're going to see otherwise. Then with the Learn to
Train, they started in like 2010.
So the Learn to Train, there's a powerlifting experience or something like that.
That was after LTT.
There was something else.
Sports performance.
So there's all these other ones. It didn't start to like begin to go the other way until later, until they got bigger. Like when they started to get bigger in the 80, there became a point in time where they were breaking even and we would donate the money to charity. So anything that was over that was profitable was going to Make-A-Wish or something like that. And then over a period of time, as they were, I guess you would say, profiting, we started to pay for the hotel rooms, pay for the guests, pay for coaches, pay for people that were coming out to help with the Learn to Train. And when you have 7 racks and 5 coaches per rack, that starts adding up. Then all of a sudden it's like, well, fuck, here we are. We got this big thing going on. We need 120 people just to break even on putting these people up. And that's not paying them. That's just paying their flight, paying the hotel, food. I mean, it's not like they're making bank coming out to coach, but that's when things started to go backwards in a way, because then we weren't able to pull that. And it's like, well, fuck, now we lost 10 grand. Now we lost 5 grand. This isn't worth doing anymore unless we can figure out how to dial it back and get everybody to come coach for free again or something like that. So that was when it pivoted to the sport performance. Because with that, you only got to pay the speakers.
Right.
You don't have to pay anybody to coach the lifts and all the other stuff, but that goes up because then the speakers want to be paid, so it didn't really, it helped lower it some, but not that much, because what you thought you were saving is now going into the speaking costs.
Right.
Now, what helped me a lot with those earlier ones is out of all the seminars that clinics, I should say, all the clinics that I've spoken at or other people's seminars, I never let them pay me. So I go on my own dime. I just saw it as marketing. It's the live, learn, pass. That's just how my brain works. So the first sport performing ones worked out really well, because as soon as I would ask these people, they would not take any money from me. It's like, no, we're going to come out. So I'm like, well, this could work, but then it's only going to work for so long. And then I think 2018, something like that, we pulled back because Alicia was running.
Yeah, I think that's when you started.
The last one was here. It was like Alan Cosgrove.
Yeah.
Because I was at that one.
Yeah.
That may have been the last one, and I think you kind of strained over to the train your asses off.
Yeah, Alicia ran that last one that was here, and it was just like, God damn it, we cannot. I don't want to say we cannot, but we were not able to figure out how to make this fucking work. And to make it worth it, right? Because you got overtime of people coming out, and so you got all these other expenses that are just compiling on this. And you can only charge so much because there's 80 people. You can't. Why now in today's world, I see people are charging $4,000 for some stupid ass shit. So that's kind of where that is. So it's.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it did. I'm not going to sit here and say it didn't help. It did definitely help.
I was going to say, and this is back to the 2 sides of the company type thing. We did get some good back end sales off of those. You look at people like Chris, you look at people like Gina, Mike Morellis, David Allen, Matt Mills.
Tons.
I mean, and those guys, they became part of Elite FTS in a sense too. You know what I'm saying? And so it was good, but there was always something magic when they walked into especially at the old place. Well, dirty walls and it's like.
The one thing that needs to be reestablished is through those. It was. How am I going to say this without blowing my ego through that? I'm a good judge of character when it comes to people who know their shit in coaching and those that don't. It doesn't take me very long to sit down and talk to somebody and be like, okay, I don't know. I'm impartial. It's going to take another conversation to be able to know what's going on, or this person's completely full of shit.
Yeah.
Or this person is on their game. Those seminars put me in front of a lot of people that ended up becoming team members. Because from what I've found, the best coaches, the best trainers, and the best lifters for that matter, well, not lifters so much, but they're unknown. Because they're in the gym doing the fucking job. So they're in the gym training people. You know, it's like nobody knew DeFranco until after DeFranco was very successful at training the athletes in his gym.
Right.
Then they knew who he was. So it's, in my mindset, it's like, how many other ones are out there that are like that? Well, those are the people that are paying to come to seminars and clinics and stuff like that. Then you're talking to them and it's like, this fucker, first off, he knows his shit. Secondly, he knows how to disseminate the information to the client base he's working with, which is huge. Because anybody can re-quote somebody or read a book. And, you know, my memory is for shit, you know, when it comes to regurgitating things that I read. But I can read it and know how to apply it. And that's kind of a different skill. Where I wanted those people that could take the information and apply it. Where yes, it's a great article if they can write the great article, or it's a great podcast if they really know what they're talking about. But when the tires hit the pavement, fucker needs to be able to do what they say they can do. And that's what over the last few years has been hard. You know, so people will ask, you know, why do you not have new coaches? Why do you not have new athletes? Well, how the fuck am I going to vet them? Because if all I got to do is go off social media and the internet,
so much noise.
I'd rather not have anybody.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can't tell from that. You know, there's so much in nonverbal communication or just sitting and talking to somebody for a while. It's like, yeah, this could be good. And then it usually worked out really well for them too, because where they lacked was marketing, exposure, and that kind of stuff. So it's like, this works out. We just need your brain to be able to help our customers get better, to get stronger. In exchange for that, we're going to give you exposure that you can leverage any way you want. I don't give a fuck. I ain't going to do online training, you know? So then it kind of works, you know, in that way. So that was one area that I found other ways, you know, to find and make those connections, but not the same. Not the same, because there's so many people.
Yeah, and I mean, nowadays, I think that would be virtually impossible to go off somebody's YouTube or Instagram.
Please,
you couldn't.
You don't know.
No way.
Like I when you were talking about that, like in vetting people and, you know, 2 or 3 conversations. I mean, I think of a guy like Brandon Smitley that came to like 2 or 3 of these things. You know what I'm saying? Before we were like, oh, this guy's legit. And I mean, Brandon comes up with some great coaching stuff. You know what I mean? And I don't know, had he not been here for those things, if he would be a part of things as he has. Well,
we've had people out that have, and not just us, but when John would bring people out. So I'll use that as a more concrete example. That way I'm not calling out anybody that we actually brought out. And so when John would bring people out, and they're well known, so they're very well known in the industry, big followers and all that. And you listen to these people talk, you're like, do you even train anybody? Or do you even have a patient? You know, so say it was a chiropractor or a physical therapist or whoever he would have out. Then you realize you don't even have patients. Like, I get it. You know, you got an advanced degree and that's great.
Theoretical.
And you can speak great. I mean, what you're saying is great. I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, but you live in a different world. You live in a meta world, right? The new Facebook world. They live in they're going to be great meta trainers, right? So they'll be, and so I've seen that. So there's that way, but that's only one person. But on the other side, we've also had people that would come out with John, or even people with ourselves that would come out very, very popular. Then you get talking to him, you're like, you know what, this fucker's for real. It's more rare than what you think, but it happens to where, no, this is certainly for real. And that's happened enough times that I used to be like completely against like influencers. I know, fuck them, I don't want to talk to them. But there's a lot, they do know what the hell they're doing. But most, you know, it's a different type of thing. But unlike again, with that, you got one person that you're basically able to vet in a day.
Yeah.
And that's just one person. Where to be able to rip through, you got 100 people. It's like, okay, here, there's these here, and then there's that. And even with, there's been some that have come through the train your ass off, but that's even hard to vet because I'm so focused on just busting their ass and coaching them that I'm not focused on their ability to coach, or I don't even care because all I care about is their squat, their bench, their deadlift, and teaching them the movements.
Yeah, I it's funny because just even thinking back in my own history of seminar, I mean, I talked to you years and years ago. I got connected with you through Matt Mills because he was my coach at the time. But I what I liked about coming to seminars is like, dude, I didn't have the fucking money for it. Like, I was just like, well, looks like I'll be sleeping in my car. Right. But the crowd that the seminars draws is like my people. Yeah, is like your people, right? Like it's people that have similar experiences who may be coaches, who may be athletes or whoever, and it allows you to connect with that network. Because at the time, like even 5-6 years ago, like that Instagram, social media, whatever, was a different landscape that you didn't necessarily have that level of connection with. It's like you didn't know like who to trust, right? It's like I got connected with you through Matt Mills, so like I knew Matt, I knew that he was writing for us for Elite FTS, and I was like, oh, Matt's really good. Matt says these guys. It's like Matt says if I need to buy something, these are the guys. Yeah. And that's as simple as it was. And then all of a sudden it was like, I need a back extension. You're like, cool, I'll sell you the one that then we're going to make a fucking brand new one the next day.
Hey, I got burned with that too. Dude. I got the old lat pull down and 6 weeks later we come with a new one. But yeah, man, the relationships through those seminars I think they've been great. But like Dave said, it's a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of work. And maybe they got too big, right? Like maybe, I don't know, like maybe we went.
Well, the LTT that I came out for, that was like one of the greatest 2-day experiences that I think I've ever had in a seminar. And I upgraded because you had 2 price points. You had come out for the lectures or the VIP where you got to partake in the training. And I remember getting the email and I looked at the speaker list and I was just like, I'd never been to a seminar outside of Perform Better in Long Beach. And I was like,
don't say that around here.
Well, but here's the thing, you look at that and then I looked at the list of speakers that you had and I was like, I'm flying to Ohio.
No shit.
Like instead of driving to fucking Long Beach.
Well, I had the same thing because I was in New England. So that was the same idea.
Well, it's like learning from a guy that's wearing a shirt and tie. You know what I mean?
The khaki polo.
But then you're looking at these guys like, okay, these guys definitely walk the walk, right?
Well, it had more application to what I wanted to do. Like I knew I wanted to work with kids. One of the speakers that was out here was Jeremy Frey talking about training high school kids. I was like, okay, that resonates with me. Okay, and then you had Josh Bryant was out here. Well, Josh Bryant programmed for me when I was doing single ply. It's like, okay, I have that connection. I knew Molly Galbraith. I knew Julia superficially. And so you come out here and then you just meet all these people. And I was just like, okay, I like their swag because that's what I first started doing. I like the articles. And now the people are fucking amazing. Yeah. And that was just I miss those old seminars. Like it sucks to probably put everything together, but man, those were an absolute game changer to introducing me to the culture of what Elite FTS is and how important the education component, how important the relationship component is. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if I don't come to that seminar, I don't know if I get as vested in the company.
No.
As quickly and as deeply as I did.
I had Julian Christian out for my first multiply meet.
Yeah.
I was like, what the
They just showed up.
Fucking life went full circle. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it was always somebody I would listen to at a seminar, or I'd learn from their stuff online or their articles and this and that, and they just rolled up.
Well, it's like the first Arnold that I ever competed at. I can't even list all the elite team members that were out there that weren't lifting, that were just helping.
Yeah.
I remember I took my first squat and I was so cranked on nose torque that Bob comes up to me, he's like, take a deep breath, dude. Like, relax. You're too cranked on nose torque. Like, back off.
And I'm like,
and I had no idea who he was. Brian Carroll ended up telling me later who that was. Oh, shit. Okay. But I was wearing Elite FTS gear. I was in the orange suit, and he took the time to come up to me and walk me through what it takes to get amped, but not overly amped for the squat. And I never met the dude a day in his life.
Yeah, even in our meet, I mean, I saw Christian and Julie when they weren't working with me. They were running the rack for other competitors.
Yeah,
just just out of the kindness of their heart. Like, they were just there.
Yeah.
They were just participating and helping, and it was so cool to see that. But again, I agree that those relationships and the people that you know and that you connect with, it's so important to have those opportunities, right? Because you can follow somebody online. You like Dave was saying, like, you don't necessarily know who that person is. You know that if you rolled up to a meet and you saw somebody in Elite FTS gear or the team Elite FTS, it's like they're helping other people.
Well, it just goes to show too is like those seminars just got so out of hand that, and the fact that like the people that you brought in to coach, like their whole crew wanted to come with them too. You know what I mean? And Dave's not gonna tell them no. You know what I mean? So now you got like one guy showing up with 8 other dudes. You know what I mean? So now like our gym is packed. Like, I mean, you couldn't move. Like, I mean, they got to the point where those seminars were so packed. And the biggest part of it was the morning training sessions.
Yeah.
Before the seminar started.
Yeah, because you guys would do the Uggs then.
Yeah, and then everybody wanted to come and watch that. You know what I mean? So it just, they grew into a monster, man. And it was like, I mean, hell, we didn't even have outdoor plumbing in that gym. Like people were pissing outside. Yeah, you pee on the rocks. I love when like Andy Deck would come out. It's like, can I use those stones? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And like everybody's pissing on them all day long, and like peeing behind the dumpsters, and it's just like, you know, I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, some of them were freezing our asses off. It was colder and shit, hotter than hell.
It was a prequel to Train Your Ass Off. You didn't freeze it off first.
Dude, the one, it was like Memorial Day weekend. It had to be 100 degrees out.
That was one of the first ones that I came to, and it was like 90 degrees.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is terrible.
And I'm, you know,
I love it.
Yeah, I'm always one of those like, well, I can save us money. I'll get this big grill that my buddy's got, and I'll cook for everybody. And dude, I'm like I'm dying. Like, I'm over this hot grill and I'm flipping burgers and cooking corn. I'm like, oh my god, what a mistake. You know, and like I think Tracy, like the next year, was like, hey, can you get that grill? I'm like, no, he sold it. Never doing that shit again.
Yeah.
But those things were awesome. And I mean, again, coming into the company not really knowing, and then, I mean, that first LTT, you did it by yourself essentially. I think Todd Brock helped you. And
yeah, that's kind of how they all start, though, because there's been different iterations of each one of these things. Even the Train Your Ass Off is like in a beginning phase.
Just grows.
It just starts organically with like me and one other person. Like, hey, let's just do this, and then it just kind of, you know, can balloon from there. And a big part of what you're talking about, you know, with Julia, Christian, Joey, all these other people, is some of these we've had. There's employees here that have been here 10 years. You know, it's decades. Not decades, but I mean, half the staff's probably tenured.
Well, I mean, Ken's 20. What? Lori's got to be close.
Yes.
Right?
So I mean, there's a culture, there's a community that's kind of built into that. With our team members and coaches, there's a lot of them that have been around 10, 15 years. So Julia, Christian, Joey, you know, all these people, even ones that I've had problems with. Yeah. You know, that I'm now really, like Brian, I'm very good friends with Brian. And there was, you know, even with the time that you were talking about, there was kind of like a little divide, you know, between Brian and myself and some of the other ones. But yet our team people are still like, we're going to help you out. Because that's in their DNA to be able to do that. So even if there's beef, I don't even know if there was beef, it was just ego, like ego, you know, kind of battling during that time. But it still took second, you know, to everything else, because I'm still going there to see Brian total all-time world record. Yeah. And I don't like the guy at the time, but I want him to break this world record because I know the story, I know what he went through, and I'm not going to miss that. You know, where some people are like, what the fuck are you, like, don't even ask, don't worry, this is just my deal, you know. I remember watching live streams of when he did a meet down there in Florida, where it was another one he was trying to do it. Yeah. And the person I was training with at the time was like, what the fuck you want? Like, he's going to do it this time. I'm like, why do you give a fuck? I'm like, dude, I give a fuck because I give a fuck. Yeah. Don't ask me why. But anyhow, that when I say you can find those people, you know, you find those people, then those people are what kind of go full circle, like what you're talking about. And then they represent that brand. And then what happens is, if it is an event like what we're talking about, it self-vets who comes, right? Because we did a couple business seminars, and this is how I can say this. The business seminars are a different demographic. Yeah. The business seminars are 50% of the people that come in here are fake ass fucks that are just out to make money in the industry. Yep. The other seminars, that's not the case. I think what happens with the other seminars, the other events, is those people that are out just for that, you know, making money is the higher priority outside of helping people, are too intimidated to come. because of who the speakers are and who's there. They don't feel like they're going to be in their place.
Yep.
Right. They're like, I don't want to go there because maybe they have for real imposter syndrome, so they're not comfortable. But who does come? The people that come are the ones that are actually they actually give a fuck. And then when they come because they actually give a fuck, they're rewarded by being around a bunch of other people that may actually give a fuck more than they do.
Right.
So then over a period of time and being around each person, being around Julia, being around these other team members, then they go back thinking, you know what, I could probably give a fuck a little more because what they did exceeded the expectation of who the person was that came in. So then they're going to leave and want to exceed the expectations of whoever they're going to be around. And that's kind of the live, learn, pass on is more than just the words, so you see it in the events, you see it in the tenure, you see it in these other type of situations with that. So it's never really a question of if, there's going to be events, it's how, there's going to be events. So they always change. Yeah. Like the West Side Seminar had to morph into it, something that was more block oriented, which was more the Tour de France. And then that goes into, I'm still forgetting one. There was something before the Learn to Train. I know it. I can't remember what it was for the life of me. And then there was the ones after that.
Do you guys think with this next generation, it's going to be harder to find those people that are willing to do that kind of stuff?
I don't, because
without
if
sending an invoice, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, well, I'll bill you.
I don't think so. I don't think so, because I could find it before.
Yeah.
So in even some of the Learn to Trains, we would have, say, half of the people presenting were actual team members. The other half would be
outsiders.
I wouldn't say outsiders, but I would say they were being scouted without knowing they were being scouted. Yeah. Like they knew their stuff. They could present material that definitely people are going to learn from. So being a speaker on a stage, they're going to learn from that. So it's like the difference between an outside submission and a columnist.
Right.
The outside submission, there may be one thing in that article that can help you. I'm not saying they're a good coach. I'm not even saying the whole article's good. But what I'm saying is that there's one thing in there that can definitely help you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we vet that, where the columnist is like, nope, they're a good coach. Whatever they put out there, maybe they dropped the ball. Maybe this article's not that good, but they're a good fucking coach. And that's kind of how it goes. So you bring the other ones in to see how they do. How do they interact with people? How do they interact with the other team member? How do they interact with this? And like, okay, good presentation, but we're just, they don't know they're being vetted.
Yeah.
But they failed, on that scale. I don't want to say they failed, because a lot of them go on to do great things and make a ton of money, but get known for more making the ton of money instead of the actual helping the people. So I don't think that changes, because you're still dealing with, if you have an event like that, who's going to come? Like, who's going to be willing to come? Because you're still going to be dealing with that certain, what is the word, inhibition, certain not wanting to come because they're not going to feel like they fit in.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not because of intelligence or strength or any of that. Sometimes it's strength. People get this false impression that I can't go here if I'm not strong enough.
That's
or I don't power lift.
Yeah, it is. But that's an objection that's kind of easy to overcome. Yeah. That's not that big of a deal. That you can get around that one. The other ones, I still think that's going to be there. I think it's going to be even more so, because if they're super popular and they're influencer and they have all these, influence and all the other kind of stuff, in the real world, they're not going to feel. It's going to be the opposite of what it is. So you still can find that, and so I don't think that changes that much, because they're still coaches, they're still facility center owners, they're still, lifters. Now the powerlifting community is a little different. Yeah. So that's a lot harder.
A lot different.
Well, it's just harder to navigate.
It is.
I don't want to say it's different in a good way or a bad way.
It's just different.
It's just harder to navigate, because it's so cyclical in how it goes in these different phases and cycles and federations and all this other kind of stuff. And for the return on the customer base that's actually a competitive powerlifter, I don't know if it's really worth venturing too far down that path, where the coaching thing is that would be hard. I will say that would be hard, trying to figure out athletes in that domain, because the other hard part about that is how long are they going to be?
Right.
Right. And that's that from what I can see. And it's not because it's raw or geared or whatever it is. I just think that the interest in strength sports or now we're just seeing it more clearly. Maybe we didn't see it as clearly because social media wasn't as big as what it was. Maybe there was always this huge, fast turnaround where most people do one meet, or one strongman show and they're done.
Yeah.
They'll never do another one. And I would say that's a higher percentage than what we think it is. But if we can't see it, without Instagram, take away all the social media, then you just think everybody powerlifts and they do like 20 meets.
That's true.
Right? Because that's who you're around. You just think everybody does that. So I don't know if it's really shifted or not. I just know I'm more aware that more people come and go. So you could sponsor somebody or bring somebody in, but then 8 months later, they're out.
They're gone.
And a couple of years ago, we brought in a handful of sponsors that were just social media, and I think only one of them still competes.
Yeah.
And most of them were done competing after it wasn't even a year. Like, well, this was fucking stupid. Thank God we're not selling gear anymore because we'd have to give away all that fucking gear.
We'd be screwed.
For that. So I don't think it's as much. I don't think that much has changed. Yeah,
it's just more. It's more visual, right?
Well,
you can see it more.
Yeah, and I mean, we're kind of there's so many different divisions which are going on just in the past 2 years with everything. So there's strength isn't. Strength hasn't. It's not divided. I mean, people in a gym are people in a gym.
Yep.
Right. And nobody's gonna. The real fucking. The people that we're talking about, that target market, they ain't gonna give a fuck about a vaccine, a mask, or any of this shit. Just like, you're gonna fucking spot me or what?
Yeah, right.
There's not like, somebody's benching and you're spotting them. They're blowing their COVID all over your face. You don't give a fuck. You just let's make sure you don't. You don't want them to take their head off with the bar. You're more worried about that than the other shit. Yeah. So that's why the other part of the reason why I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal with that, because I don't see the division there.
Yeah, everybody's got that singular goal, right? Like, you get into that weight room, it's like, we're all trying to get stronger. Like,
well, that's the beautiful thing about fucking training, though, because outside the door, they could be from completely two different political extremes, two different extremes on everything that everybody's been bitching about until they walk in the gym. Then it's like, okay, I'm leaving that shit out there. I completely disagree with you on this bullshit, but fuck it, let's get some squatting done.
Right.
And that's the cool fucking thing,
It'd be interesting because I haven't been into a commercial gym. God, I don't even know how long. But I wonder, what is that vibe like in those places nowadays? Because I don't know. I'm in more places like this, right?
Yeah.
I live literally right across the street from one of these big box gyms, and I see the people going in and out of there. Yeah. And I just I'm looking at I look at them. I'm just looking at them, right? Like what they're wearing, what they're carrying, and I'm like. Yeah, I don't know, but I wonder what that vibe is in those big box gyms. Is it the same as like a gym like this?
No, it's not.
See, because you used to have a membership, right? So
that gym was a little different. You got to understand that the commercial has met garage, and now they're trying to make these new gyms.
Yeah,
they're like the training grounds, the place that I was working out of and training out of. It's it's 40,000 square feet, but it's a commercial gym, but it's not. It's in a warehouse. It's got turf. It's got all the powerlifting gear. It's got stuff to do CrossFit, Olympic lifting, bodybuilding. It's a hodgepodge. But you go in. At least the last time I was in a commercial gym, it was a Fitness Evolution, and there's no personality. It was. I mean, they had the heat.
Lost, right?
Yeah, they had the heat turned on, but that place was cold as hell.
Yeah.
Because you have 60, 70 people in there working out. Everybody's on their headphones.
Yeah.
And everybody gives you that look.
Environment.
Yeah, everybody gives you that look. Like, don't fuck with me. It's like, dude, you're doing leg extensions with 10 fucking pounds.
See,
give me that look with 300-400 pounds on the squat bar, and I'll leave you alone.
Right.
But there's no connection.
That's weird.
It's the thing that I liked about Training Grounds is it was huge. Right. But there was a connection because people had that singular mentality of strength. How do I get stronger? I don't know you, but I'm going to go bench 375 and I need a spot because this thing's going to break my neck if I don't. You just walk up. Hey, man, you're going to do that? I've been watching you warm up. Fuck yeah, I'll give you a spot. And people get excited to want to help. you know, but the big commercial gyms, it's a cost thing. Like people only go to them because now they're not even $50 anymore. You can get a commercial gym membership for $9 and it's going to suck ass.
Because I was thinking about doing, I was just going over there and getting like a week guest pass. Just, I want to try it out.
I'll give you one day.
I don't think I'll last, but
1 hour.
But I go back to like when I joined a commercial gym when I got back into lifting when I was like in my early 20s. I went to World's Gym West, which was like basically the West Side Barbell guys went over there to do the accessory work. And I remember being in there and like guys like Kenny Patterson and Big Mike Ruggiero, those guys, they would come over they would be like, hey, try this. Hey, do this. Like, do your dumbbell extensions this way. Or, you know, it was like free advice and like people were willing to help. I had another guy who was like, man, you really need to get into a bench shirt. I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
No one does that anymore.
But
it's just like, get the fuck off my bar.
Yeah, right.
Like I'm on my 20-second warm-up set and I'm still at, 40 pounds on the bar or 45 pounds on the bar. It's just like, there's no connection. Yeah. At least any of the ones that I've been in, it's just, it sucks.
And you'll see, like, if they have 6 or 7 benches, you'll see everybody doing close to the same weight on different benches.
Right.
Right?
Well, even like there's gyms here in Columbus that are powerlifting driven gyms. And my one buddy manages probably one of the bigger predominant powerlifting gyms in Columbus. And he's like, man, these dudes drive me nuts. Cause like it'll be one dude drops his whole bag in front of a combo rack and they're all doing the same program. But like there's a single guy on each combo rack and they're all tied up and they're in there for an hour doing, one thing. And they could all, if you work in, and he's like, why don't you guys work in a group? You help each other get stronger. I don't want to do that anymore.
I literally walked into a Fitness Evolution one time and they only had 3 squat racks and all of them were being taken care of by people doing easy bar bicep curls.
Of course.
Like, and they weren't even using the racks. They were just standing in there. Then they would set the bar down on the ground.
Look in the mirror.
No, they would just walk away. And then you'd go and pick up the easy bar and they would, what are you doing? This is my rack. It's like, motherfucker, you're not even doing anything in the rack. Like, go curl somewhere else. Like, let me squat.
It's like when you went home, you went down to Mill's place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Fuck yeah, man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
no, I drove 2 hours because I was like, no, this is better. Yeah. I'm just going to go there. But I think going back to what the seminars can actually do from like the athlete or lifter perspective is it provides like a beacon of like-minded people showing up to the same place who may not know that the other person is training that same style or they connect well with, right? Kind of like we are the icebreakers for a lot of those people.
Yeah.
Well, I think the one thing that the LTT seminar did for me is I thought I knew what training at intensity was. And so did the people that I was training with. But when you go to a seminar and all of a sudden, instead of being one of the top 3 lifters in your gym, your max attempt is somebody's second warm-up set. You get introduced to what training and intensity actually is. So those are the type of people that are really going to be coming to these things because they're like, how do I take my training to the next level? Oh, I'm going to go get to train with so-and-so. Like, okay, now I'm going to go see what RPE 9, 10 is really all about.
Not only that, but it was actually one of the many benefits of being able to train here is like, I'm never going to impress that guy.
Yeah.
And it's like it's like relaxing. I'm like, oh, fucking thank God. Like the ego just goes out of like training at home. It was like there was like a strong group of people and you're always trying to be competitive and that's great and everything. But like, it's so nice to walk into a big fucking pond. Yeah. It's just like, oh, I can just fucking train.
And he's going to give it to you straight, right? Like, I'll never forget, there was a time it was like a Tuesday night or something. It was after work and it was me, Cole Scott, and my old man are in here benching, right? And he walks over and he goes, he looks at me and he goes, you're old. Looks at Cole Scott, he's like, you're in a 20-year slump. And he looks at my dad and he goes, and rigor mortis has already set in on you. I mean, dude, I laughed for like 2 days after that. I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, wow, that was pretty brutal. Yeah. I don't know. Back to the seminar thing, Sam. I think what we're envisioning is, I think, more of a reward.
Well, no shit, yeah.
For a coach or a school that is willing to, is buying from us and supporting us. And, what can we do to give back to that school? You know what I mean? So if I can bring people in there and I can help them earn some more money, that they'll hopefully come back and buy more stuff from us.
Sure.
That's kind of what I'm looking to do. And again, what I've, when you get this school, normally all the schools around are calling, asking like, hey, where'd you get that stuff? Yeah. You know what I mean? You're seeing that, right? Where'd Mount Baker get that stuff? And
how?
Right. Yeah. How'd you do that? You know what I mean? So I think
that's the bigger one is how.
Yeah. So I mean, and Nate Harvey's found we'll have to do an article on it. He's found there's a grant that pretty much any school can apply for, and schools are knocking them down left and right, getting these grants to help because they've taken phys ed out of the schools.
Yeah.
Right. So like Waverly did is they implemented an advanced weightlifting class that now is part of the general funds, right? Because it's part of the general curriculum, not athletics. So it goes to a whole different revenue of money.
Yeah.
And so you got to play that game, right? But I think back to the seminar thing is like I'm in my vision, I want it to be a reward.
Oh, absolutely.
Back to the coach that supported us.
Yeah.
And like Friends University out there, Joe has just been awesome, and then Waverly guys, you can't say enough about those dudes, right? So it's like, what can we do to just kind of give back a little bit? They're to live, learn, pass on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to get rich off of these things.
No.
Like, I'd rather be able to like, hey, we covered all of our costs. Nothing's out of pocket. Here's a check.
Yeah.
And that to me would be, instead of constantly taking from the customer, that'd be an opportunity that we can give back.
And that's where like having somebody like me out there now finally on the West Coast, because that's just a market that you guys haven't even
you can't
come into. Like I would talk to people all the time all over Washington, and there's maybe 3 or 4 people in the state of Washington. Oh yeah, you Elite FTS? Yeah, I know exactly what they do. Yeah. And some people are like, okay, cool. What do you guys do with Rogue again? I'm like, no, fuck that.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Well, that's it. It's just that exposure thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think, I don't know, like a high school coach level, what I've learned is they'll basically look at, okay, who's the big college that is associated with my high school? So Ohio State, right? Where did Ohio State get their equipment? Okay, then I'm going to call them. You know what I mean? That's what I'm seeing. And, I just think the high school guys, they need the most help and the most guidance, because the football coach doesn't know. Like, where do you get weightlifting equipment? I don't know. Like, they don't know. And I think if we could set up these seminars and we bring in, whether it's a football or whatever, we bring in a guy like, that can pull in the local coaches, somebody they want to see, like somebody in that market that's, got a little bit of a name to them, and we could bring that guy in. Like, oh shit, like so-and-so is associated with these guys. That's where they get their weight room from.
Yep.
So, just branch out. It may fail. I mean, we may fly on my face and Tracy rips my head off, and I mean, who knows? I mean, but at some point you got to try, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, how many times you've heard the old saying, right? Like, your next failures got you closer to your next success.
Oh,
so
it's going to fail.
It's going to fail.
It's gonna fail.
I mean,
but you fail forwards, right? So
learn from it and move on.
Build on. That's why they've all started like that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a mess.
So
and it just falls forward, then it falls off the edge. And it's okay. It's time to re-engineer or reinvent something different.
And I think we've had conversations about it. We've talked to a lot of people, and I think everything's kind of going. It went, obviously everything is going to be digital for a long time, blah blah blah. But I think there's a large group of people that are like, I just want to be in the same gym with these people and just training and talking about training.
Yeah, and I mean how many times have you heard that? Like when people walk in these walls, right? Everything changes. I don't think anybody left an LTT without getting one PR, whether it was squat, bench, or deadlift. Like I think everybody PR. Like it was like impossible not to. I mean, we got Joey Smith screaming at you like a maniac. I mean, you're gonna lift that weight.
Well, because every 10 minutes you got someone yelling, screaming, and cheering. So you're like, oh, there's another PR.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another
Everybody's
PR.
going crazy.
Oh,
Like, we
there's
need the
another
bell,
one. There's
right?
another one. There's another one. There's another one.
But when you got guys like Dave and those guys like tweaking like one little thing, right? It's always one little thing. Like, hey, do this, and then that changes. But like I don't know, like online coaching, like how you can do that through a video, because there's just certain things you can't see.
Well, yeah, it's like when I came out for the LTT, I had been plateaued on my bench. I was stuck at 515 for the longest time. And Joey, it was funny that you say, he was actually handing me off.
Yeah.
And he's just like, dude, you need to bring the bar out further. And it was a half inch.
Yeah. Makes a huge
And that
difference.
half inch got me a 30-pound PR. Like, you can't see that on a video.
Yeah.
You can't get the right angle. You don't have somebody that's got an epic amount of experience like he has to be able to know the difference between a half inch and a 30-pound PR.
I mean, when I went to the Train Your Ass Off, I had a blown meniscus and I got a 50-pound PR on squat.
Right.
I had one fucking leg.
I think like when I was benching in here with the shirt, just starting to learn the shirt, Todd Brock like chalked the shit out of the center knurling on the bar. And he's like, let's just rep this, a couple times, just touch and see. And I mean, I'm hitting different spot every time. You know what I mean? He's like, there's your problem. He's like, you're high, you're low. You're like, you know, you got to be hitting the same spot every time. And it's like those little things, you'll never figure that out on your own.
No.
You know, and it was like that one little thing, like just chalk the bar. So I tell people all the time, like chalk the bar, see where it hits.
Yep.
And if you're hitting like 4 or 5 different spots, like you got to find that right groove, right?
And that piece of information travels from who you heard it from to the person
right.
you share it
goes
with.
on and on and on and on.
And it keeps going.
And I look like a
going.
genius.
Yeah. Like, I'm so fucking smart.
Funny because last week I saw a meme making fun of that.
Are you serious?
Really?
That people are stupid if they chalk the bar because it fills the knurling in.
Oh, for Christ.
Which it does, right? Because it fills the knurling in.
If you're benching with your hand on the center bar,
exactly.
You're a fucking idiot anyways.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this and I'm like, obviously they don't understand the context of why people do this sometimes. And that's the internet. Right?
Yeah.
I guess Nate's bar nerds. I mean, these guys in their bars anymore. It's unbelievable, man. It's like, I'm like, dude, my bar scratched. I'm like, awesome.
That's
like,
so
good job, dude.
You used it.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I want to return it. Like,
So when
Lord.
it was funny because at Baker, when we got all the equipment, like all the kids were grabbing the bars, they're like, this hurts my hand. Like, can we get bars that aren't as spiky? I'm like, no,
right.
grip it harder and it won't hurt as much.
Yeah.
You know,
settle in there, man.
yeah.
It's cool when it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like like Dave said, you see a meme about like there's too much chalk on the bar. It's like, what? Like, all right, well, get a wire brush, knock it out, and then load it back up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, shit. I mean, it's, you know, you look around here, man, there's chalk everywhere. Dave's writing.
There's more
shit all
bars
over
that
the place.
have chalk on them than bars that don't.
Yeah. I'd rather have chalk than blood. Like, I mean, like,
Yeah.
Well, there's that too.
there's all this.
There's that.
And here is like, I mean, you can't get COVID in here.
No, it's
The
impossible.
shit in here kills COVID.
It's like when I found the dead frog. It was a dead
the
frog.
old-
It was a dead frog skeleton. It
the
looked
old
like a
place-
fucking science project.
The old place, there was raccoons living in the ceiling, and they would just shit down. And I mean, there would be raccoon shit all over the floor. I'm like, God damn.
They're just deadlifting up in the rafters.
They'd
Like,
sit there and look at you. They'd be looking down at you like, God damn, there's a fucking raccoon up there. And big, goddamn things, too.
I miss that place.
It was awesome. We had bats, raccoons, mice. It was like dead shit everywhere. It was awesome. Like every now and then you catch a smell of like decaying carcass.
Yeah.
You're like,
something's here.
What's that? It was funny when Alex and I cleaned the gym. We were like, 50% chance Dave's pissed at this.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we've been going for about 90 minutes. I think that's kind of the
Time flies when
magic
you're having
number.
fun.
That's fast.
Do you guys want to? Any last words here?
The only thing I got is like, you know, hey, when you're looking at equipment, I know on the website, like it's kind of hard to navigate. You could always reach out to Nate, myself, or Chris. You know, attachment wise, we do have all the attachments. I know I get questions on that. Dave gets questions on that. We are in the process of trying to get those loaded on the site. The problem is all you guys have a million different size racks with a million different size holes, and you're going to buy stuff from me. It's going to get there and it's not going to fit your rack and you get pissed.
Yeah.
So it's easier just to call, especially if you don't have an Elite FTS rack. Call, we can get that stuff retrofitted to fit your stuff. You know, gym build outs, high school build outs, we do all that stuff for you guys. We take pride in it. You know, and I mean, that's it. And just, you know, thank you for the years of support. You know, I know not everybody knows who I am or who Chris is, or Nate's a lot more popular, but, you know, we appreciate everything. And, you know, it all goes back to, you know, what Dave started, and we're just trying to, you know, keep it rolling.
I think the one thing I really want people to understand is Elite FTS is not just squat racks.
Yeah.
Like you can get a ton of stuff for your gym.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you got a baseball, softball program and you want bands, let's talk. Like we can find some bands that'll help you work. You want any piece of equipment and not just a squat rack, bars, whatever. It's just like, there's nothing that this company can't provide you with that won't help make your client experience even better.
Yeah.
And now that you got somebody on the West Coast, Chris Bartl Elite or C Bartl at EliteFTS.net, like let's talk.
Yeah.
I got sales quotas. Let's fucking go.
He did a fucking fence for a baseball team.
Yeah. I mean, we did a windscreen for baseball and softball team, so we could do all that stuff. I mean, it's all anything you can possibly think of, we can do. And you know, I think moving forward with Chris as an addition, I think it's only going to get better and bigger. And you know, we just appreciate the support, and I just love looking at you. I mean, it's fantastic. If my legs were long enough, I'd kick you.
Yeah, someone stole your shins.
I got cut off at the hip.
Beautiful. All right, guys. That's it for episode 89 of Dave Tate's Table Talk podcast. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. As always, like, subscribe, do all the things. And check out elitefts.com for anything you can put in a gym bag or load on a bar.
Peace.
Absolutely.